guys, how's it going? This is definitely my new favorite mug. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of work on the Volvo today, but kind of want to talk about what's been going on briefly. I had a death in the family at the beginning of the month. My grandpa passed, lost his battle with skin cancer. So really been spending a lot of time with my grandma and family and trying to get stuff situated after that. Also been spending a lot of time with the kids mountain biking. We got into mountain biking recently and that's been really fun. So hitting some trails and learning how to do some dirt jumps and stuff. And just enjoying some time doing other things that are not car related. But we'll get back into it on this video. Gonna go over this new fan setup. Do have some plans for the truck coming up. We're gonna hit the track in like a week here. So let's get into the meat. Alrighty, so I want to get a little bit done on the Volvo and I ended up getting something new for it. This is the radiator and fan shroud setup that I had on it. This is like an eBay 66 or 67 Mustang radiator and fan setup. Just has the lower quality eBay like 90 watt fans on it. They're not that great of fans. But Dane from Burndown YouTube channel reached out and said that he's making this thing now. So this thing's pretty sweet. Burndown punched out in it. And this uses a newer PWM style Silverado fan. You might have seen these on a couple other channels. I know there was some sent out already and they look like really good quality. So it's all packaged up by War Performance. He's like working for War Performance now. So comes with a plug and pre-terminated harness on it. So you have the power leads and then the PWM single lead and just plug it in and then this thing will spin and move air. So that's cool. Came with some hardware and a tap and some blue Loctite and some other hardware. Hardware for the outside to bolt the shroud on and then hardware for the inside to mount the fan. So these center holes are not threaded, so the tap would be used to thread those holes and then bolt it on. And then just if I eyeball the placement on this thing, holy moly, is that going to work nice. Perfect with this radiator. Look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing all unbolted. I'll probably even be able to use the same shroud here. Bolt this right to this other shroud. My only concern I think I have is going to be the depth. I'm going to want to make sure that it's not too deep for the current setup that I have. This pulley right here might stick out a little bit, so I'll have to see what that looks like. Man, that looks like it's going to work perfect, and this will move a lot more air. Yeah, and these fans are supposed to be really good. Move a whole bunch of air. A lot better than the eBay cheap fan, I'm sure. And the PWM control is nice because then it doesn't have the instant hit for the current draw like the starting load, and then you can actually back the speed off when you want to based on the temperature, so that's really cool. You don't have to run it all out all the time, either on or off like everything else. You can kind of throttle it down to maintain temperature where you want it. It does come with this little sheet with the instructions on it, and it does show the part numbers on it. I ended up just buying my fan from Rock Auto. I think it was the 556 number. Not sure what the differences are between the left and right side, but 2015 to 2020 GM full-size trucks, and yeah, I just got it from Rock Auto. Alright, so I took the other fan off just to mock it up and kind of see how everything fits, and that fits really nice. I definitely do, I'm going to have to modify that because it's going from like a 14-inch fan or a 12-inch fan to a 16-inch fan basically. But I think what I might be able to do, instead of just bolting that on there, I might actually be able to just weld it on. I could probably bolt it on too. I'll see how it looks, see what I want to do. But yeah, I could probably just cut that out all the way around and just weld those flanges on and bolt it on here just like that. Alright, so I saved you the agony of watching me tap these holes, but it worked out really good. Tap was the right size, bolts fit perfect, Loctited everything in there. Now we just got to mount it onto the radiator. Sweet, this thing is nice. Alright, so this radiator is like the 1966-67 Mustang radiator, and it did come with this little shroud, but what I think I'm going to do is cut this whole thing out of there so I can recess the fan down a little bit farther. So the fan itself actually does hit the radiator if I just mount it like this. So I'm going to want to lift it up a little bit more, but if I do it this way and put this on top, just like this, it's actually going to be too deep. It'll hit the engine, so it'll hit the accessory drive. So what I'm going to do is cut this out. I'll be able to recess it enough and then fit it to where it's not hitting the radiator, but it also gives me another, whatever, ½ inch of space there. Alright, so I did a little chopping on this guy. Got the shroud cut out, and it doesn't go all the way across, of course, but I don't think I need to. Does have some little gaps there that I got to clean up. Some of it is my cutting, and some of it is actually the fan is not completely perfectly round, but I'll be able to match it up and then weld the thing so it actually works decent. Right now I just have it kind of spaced up so the fan actually spins to figure out what kind of spacing I'm going to need, and then I'll be able to get these things to where they bolt on and I can weld it onto the fan where it's not going to be bouncing off the radiator. What I meant with the fan not being completely true is if I go spin it like this, you can see there's like a little wobble in it, but that makes sense. If you're rolling it and then you weld it like that, it's going to warp a little bit and it's not going to be really ever completely perfectly straight. But you'll never know when it's on the car. You really can't even tell by looking at it. The only way you can see is by spinning it like that, but once it's mounted, it won't make a difference. Alright, got it kind of welded up and bolted up. I will weld all the way around most likely, but for now I just have some little welds all the way around. So that should be strong enough to at least test fit it and make sure everything's in the right spot. I do have a little cardboard in there just separating the fan from the radiator until I get the right spacing. Spacing should be good. Let's fit it. See if this works. Holy moly, you guys want to see something beautiful? Look at how that fits. Really nice. I do have room in the front of the pulley. I do plan to pull the little nub off the end of that, so that should even give me a little bit more room, but that works out really nice. I did put the harness end of the fan down here, like the plug down here. So I wanted to put it on that side towards the bottom, assuming that I'm going to run it down kind of where the alternator wiring will be, and then assuming I'll have more wiring on this side with the drive-by-wire throttle, injectors, alternator, fan, crank sensor, everything will be on this side, and then keeping as much of the wiring away from the hot side as I can. So there was a little bit of thought into how I welded it, and that's kind of how it ended up. So this fan's a really cool setup, and big thanks to Dane for making something like this. And I'm kind of glad to actually have a beefy fan on this thing, and I know it's probably not something I'm going to ever have to worry about. Because I had this radiator on my Banana Mustang, the yellow one, and never really had any issues with it on a 5.3, even like street cruising a little bit. So I'm sure this thing on a 6-cylinder with this big fan should be just fine. So next I'll be doing a little bit of work on the Ranger here. If you remember the last track video, I blew a fuse, lost power, all that stuff, and I believe I traced it down to being this little guy right here. So there's a spot that's nicked out of my fan wiring that rubbed on my water pump pulley. So that would do it, and that is a direct line to my fuse box and would have popped that ignition fuse. So I'm guessing that's what happened. That rubbed on the pulley, sparked it, popped the fuse, freaked out the ECU for a little bit. Everything's running fine since I got that figured out and put the new fuse in it and got the ECU running. There hasn't been any other hiccups or any other issues with it. So plan is to just fix that spot on the wire and then take it out to the track this weekend. Plan to go to Union Grove. That's a couple hours away. Probably trailer it down there because my son's going to come along and I still don't have a seat. And let's be honest, I don't feel like driving it. But other than that, you can see the mountain bike collection is growing, and we're going to pick one up for my daughter this week. So it's turning into a whole big family thing, so that's really fun. I also did go ahead and pick up the Canformance coil pack bracket kit and the coil packs. This is the same setup that Calvin's dad runs on his car, and it's supposed to be really nice. So just went ahead and did that. I like the look of it, and these are nice low profile brackets, bolt right on. Canformance makes the brackets. And now that I have this stuff, I believe I have all of the wiring connections and stuff that I need to make the engine harness. So I should be able to start working on that next. Get this stuff done, get the valve cover. I probably just painted looking fancy, and then start laying out the wiring and running the wiring. Rear end is in, so I just got to order the drive shaft. I haven't done that yet. Got to put the clutch in. Kind of doesn't seem like a lot, but you know it always ends up turning into a lot. And as I mentioned a couple times, this is going to be like more of my overwinter project. So I'm not really in a huge rush right now to get this one done. Just kind of want to finish up the year with this one and enjoy the rest of the summer and take my time and work on this one over winter. I would like this to be a nicer quality build and not just thrown together to get it to work. That was kind of the strategy I used here, and it turned out okay, so let's do that again.